Welcome back to Books with Duddy. Today we are doing kind of my reaction to Mr. Mercedes, including what I thought about the twists, the ending, the characters, all of that, including spoilers. So if you've not read the book or you want to avoid spoilers, I'd recommend stopping here. And I do have a spoiler-free review of the book up on my channel. I'll link it in this video so you can check that out if you want to avoid spoilers. Otherwise, let's get started. Okay, I don't know if this necessarily needed to go in the spoiler section, but the opening scene I thought was really good. I mean, obviously it was horrible what happened, but I think it really set the tone for the book. I liked that, we were with people kind of getting to know their personalities. And, I didn't know who this book was about. I didn't know this book was about Bill Hodges. So when we started, I can't remember the character's name at the beginning, but the guy who we were kind of with at the beginning, I wasn't expecting him to die right there. So that was unexpected for me, but it also, it immediately showed whoever was behind this was, really psychotic. And that does bring me to, Brady. And wow, Brady is a real Fruit Loop. The entire time, from the first time we got in the head, you could tell, obviously the screws were loose. But then when we first get into the incestual relationship with his mother, I was like, whoa. Whew, that was, I guess I'm going to call it dark. But I'll say this, I liked that it wasn't just vaguely implied. It was, pretty much said outright, yeah, there's that's going on here. And, I appreciated that. And I think, probably Stephen King does that a lot, probably. But this is my first Stephen King book, so. And then, the revelation that he killed his brother, I didn't think that was too big of a twist. I think early on in the book, I think you pretty much can kind of tell when he first brings up his brother Frankie and that his brother had died in the basement. I pretty much assumed that Brady had killed him. Now, the fact that his mother basically told him to do it was messed up, and it almost seemed like her reward for doing that was this incestual relationship with Brady, which is even more fucked up. Well, I don't know about even more, but it's messed up. But I did enjoy, getting to know more about Brady's backstory. And, I thought that was really interesting. Now, one of the things that I thought was pretty dumb about the book was, the whole idea that Olivia Trelawney was, being blamed by, the media and even the cops because she might have left her door unlocked. Really? Everybody has left something unlocked. It's not like she, knowingly was like, oh, this guy's gonna take my car and murder people in it. And she didn't even leave it unlocked, is the thing. But even if she had, the whole idea that she shouldered any of the blame for what happened was just absurd. If Brady doesn't take her car that day, it's not like he's not going to, figure out a way to commit some act of violence. So I just thought that was so stupid. But, the letters that Brady sent were interesting, just the depths of how cruel Brady wanted to be to not only kill the people that he did, but then drive other people to, end themselves. But then, the other thing that I thought was just so stupid about the book was Hodges not going to the police with, what was going on. It just doesn't make any sense. He would have had more resources, more help, more everything, had he just went to the police. Now, the police aren't perfect, but, it just didn't make any sense to keep it all to himself. And quite frankly, I think he shouldered blame for Janie's death because of that. And it was kind of weird that he didn't really feel any, or at least I didn't get it, that he felt any guilt for Janie's death. And I would have felt guilty for it because I would have felt like, if I would have went to the police and checked my own ego at the door, which is what I felt it was, she might have still been alive. But I like Janie a lot, and I mean, I from the time that they hooked up the first time, I was like, well, there's no way this lady's surviving. She's as good as dead. And so it wasn't really too much of a shock, but it did suck because I did like Janie. Now, I mentioned Jerome. I love Jerome. I thought he was a hilarious character, super resourceful, super smart. Sometimes when he was doing like the like the Masta stuff, I don't know. I just felt like uncomfortable, but if that's his humor, then that's his humor. But Holly, I loved the Holly character. The reason why I picked this book is because I briefly read somewhere that like Holly Gibney was, a really beloved character in the Stephen King universe, and I know this is kind of like where her story starts. So she was awesome. I loved, just she was neurotic, but obviously resourceful and smart. And yeah, her like cigarette smoking, everything. It just all fit together to like make a neurotic but lovable character. So I'm definitely excited about, continuing Holly's story. More so than Hodges, to be honest. And I know I still have more books with Hodges, but Holly I found to be a way, way, way more compelling character. And I hope we see more of Jerome too. And then the ending, I mean, quite frankly, I was surprised that they stopped the attack at the concert. There were certain things Stephen King would say throughout the book, like, I don't remember like a specific exact example, but it would be like, Hodges told Jerome it was fine to tell his mother and sister to go to the concert, and that would be something Hodges would come to regret. And I more took that as, well, they're going to die. Not that they're going to get in trouble but get away, but they're not going to make it. And again, my first Stephen King book, so I thought that Brady was going to get the attack off. So it was a pleasant surprise when Holly, whacked him in the head multiple times and was able to stop his plan. I will say, I hope we get a new villain. I liked Brady, but I felt like he had ran his course. And, one of the things at the very end of the book, he had been in like a coma for weeks or something, and then the nurse came in and said he woke up. So I'm hoping he's not like a reoccurring villain. Like I said, I think he ran his course, but we'll see. So overall, as I said in my spoiler-free review, I gave this book a 7.6 out of 10. Thought it was an enjoyable, solid detective thriller, and I'm certainly looking forward to continuing on in the series. I'll probably take a little break in between books, but I will definitely be revisiting Hodges and Holly in these characters. So please let me know what you thought of the book in the comments, and I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, and I hope to see you soon.